Today we're going to talk about an introduction to the general theories and concepts of business ethics. So ethics is important because it makes a statement about us as individuals, but also about us as nationals of our country. So if you look at the Corruption Perception Index, or CPI, the CPI data shows that the least corrupt countries often seem to be places like New Zealand, Denmark, Singapore, Sweden, Switzerland, Finland, Netherlands, Australia, Canada, Iceland, Norway, and Hong Kong. Why are these locations usually the least corrupt countries? Is it because people always make ethical decisions? Is it because they are taught differently? They have different principles and values? Maybe. But maybe it's the day-to-day practice. Maybe it's the education of people. Maybe it's making a decision that what I do should be also done to me. Would I like it if somebody did what I'm doing to them? If I don't like it, then why am I doing it to somebody else? So again, right is right, wrong is wrong, regardless of where we are. However, there are certain values that these cultures and countries tend to emphasize over and over again that basically makes them to be some of the most ethical places to work at in the world. So here the CPI scores from 2010, and if you look at obviously the latest CPI for today, chances are those 10 countries are still likely to be on the top scale, maybe at least in the top 20, because they seem to be consistent over time. So United States is not usually in the top 10, but they tend to do okay. However, obviously countries like Afghanistan, Somalia, Myanmar, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan seem to be somewhere toward the middle or the lowest of the scale. So the question is, how do we rise? What can we do to basically move up the scale? In other words, become an ethically more mature society so we can get more foreign businesses to invest in our culture, in our businesses. This is where we could practice the idea of moral development theory. This is where we can apply moral development theory in our education systems so our young children and working adults can practice higher level of moral maturity. There have been many studies that link the moral and immoral behavior of individuals to their experience, to their age, gender, maturity levels, and even years of education and training in terms of ethics. People like Lawrence Kohlberg, Jean Piaget have concluded that as individuals mature, their ethical values and behaviors tend to improve. This growth in moral development of working adults take place from early childhood years until our late 20s and 30s. In other words, education and training do make a difference. According to Lawrence Kohlberg, he said we tend to go through these categories of pre-conventional morality, conventional morality, and post-conventional morality. In other words, Lawrence Kohlberg says that we tend to become more mature through various stages. Stage number one is obeying orders and avoiding punishment. We do the right thing in order not to get into, obviously, trouble with our parents or with the police officers. Number two would be we do the right thing because of marketplace morality. In other words, we want to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. The third stage is conforming to group norms and belonging. We do the right thing because we want to be part of this organization or this society. Otherwise, our friends would not want to be with us. We would become isolated. Stage 4 is focusing on law and order. We do the right thing because the law says so. Stage 5 is principle-centered morality, autonomy, and responsibility. We do what we do because we think is the right thing to do. In other words, we make our decisions independent of anybody else's thinking or guidance or influence. So if we think something is right, we do it. Stage 5 is principle-centered morality, autonomy, and responsibility. We do what we do because we think it's the right thing to do, regardless of other people's influence or socialization in society. Stage number 6 is universal morality. We would do the right thing regardless of my culture, your culture, or a third culture that I work in. Gordon, she added the 7th stage called transcendent morality. He said that some individuals go through all the 6 stages, but they get to the 7, which is the integration of thoughts and feelings. So perhaps people like Mahatma Gandhi or even Dr. Martin Luther King get to the 7th stage. The question is, where are you? Where am I? Where are we operating from in our current society? Do we do things because we don't want to get into trouble with our parents or with the teachers or with the police officers? Or do we do what we do because we think it's the right thing to do throughout the universe? So where do you fall in? Hopefully, as you grow older and become more aware, you are in stage 6, 7, or at least stage 5. This is where ethics education comes in. It's important for us to ethically become more mature. This is where ethical maturity comes in. It's important for us to learn more, reflect upon ethical theories and concepts, and obviously exercise and practice high ethical standards. Always question the impact of our decisions on important or relevant stakeholders, like our employees, our suppliers, our stockholders, the community in general, and also the values of society overall. And sometimes when we are public sector leaders, we need to have anti-corruption campaign. So in other words, we need to become aware of the laws and policies. We need to provide education and training to others in our community, in our organization, our society about these laws and policies. We need to have transparency in contracts and records. We need to monitor and audit how decisions are being made. Are they according to the highest level of ethical maturity? And those who are not practicing good ethical standards, we need to discipline them. We need to explain the disciplinary procedures for compliance. We need to make sure we enforce the policies that we have in place. So these are the only ways that we can have anti-bribery, anti-corruption practices being applied in an organization or even in society. And most of all, if we're doing all of these things, hopefully there's enforcement of legal as well as ethical standards. In other words, we want to obey the law, but go above and beyond the law by being also highly ethical individuals. So one of the ethical practices that we can apply is actually Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative. Immanuel Kant called this concept the supreme principle of morals. He said it is the universal moral rule in which we command ourselves to obey them. The categorical imperative states, act only on the maxim that you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. In other words, do unto others as you have them do unto you. According to Immanuel Kant, inaction is moral if it can be suggested to being made consistently universal, if it derives and respects the autonomy of human beings, and if it respects rational human beings as ends in themselves. So those are the 3 areas of categorical imperative. If we can say yes to all these 3 areas, then that action is likely to be moral and ethical. Michael Josephson once said, "Don't let the opinions of others define you. Don't let the doubts of others confine you. You can be so much more than you even suppose." Yes, as one individual, you can make a difference by holding your colleagues, your bosses, to higher standards. Expect more of them and make sure they explain all the decisions to you before one is implemented. In summary, social problems and ethical challenges that affect our workplace today and our productivity must be appropriately and collectively addressed in order for the economy and country to be competitive. We all can be individually role models of good character as a starting point while also enforcing high ethical standards. We can also get professional assistance such as ethics officers and ombudsmen to help us stay fair, just, and effective leaders in our organizations and in our communities. As the proverb goes, what I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. So ethics is about actually role modeling, not always just saying. So we need to say and do in order for us to be good role models in our society. In other words, we need to execute our behaviors according to what we say and what we believe seems to be the correct way to go forward. By the way, are you aware of the theory of execution philosophy? If not, let me just share a summary of this. Larry Bossidy's book, Execution, the Discipline of Getting Things Done, focuses on the building blocks of execution based on 7 essential behaviors for leaders. He said you need to get to know your business. You need to insist on realism. You need to set clear goals and priorities. You need to follow through. You need to reward the doers, those who are actually doing a good job and working hard. You need to administer coaching and develop others, guide them in the right direction. And number 7, you need to know yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, your shortcomings, and obviously what your values are, because your values will drive your behavior in the workplace. So once the essential behaviors are in place, you can create the framework for your work. You can understand your vision so it can be attainable in the time period that you believe is realistic. One of the most important qualities of execution is to put the right individuals in the right positions. According to Bossidy, this style of management takes control of the business while empowering the right people to make the right decisions. Remember that ethical behavior is a skill. You need to evaluate and improve your ethical muscles in fitness every single day. Good luck.